Stop me if you've heard this one before. A massive global superpower of a football club walks into a transfer window. They have all the money in the world. They have a manager who definitely knows what he's doing. This time, we swear. And they have a history so rich it practically drips gold onto the pitch. And then, they play like a terrified Sunday League team that just realised they forgot their shin pads. Welcome to Old Trafford. Welcome to the theatre of dreams, which, let's be honest, has felt a lot more like the theatre of we're still trying to figure out the pressing triggers for the last decade. We need to talk about the United way. You hear it all the time. Pundits say it with reverence. Ex-players shout it on TV like they're summoning a demon. They aren't playing the United way. They need to get back to the United way. But here is the cold, hard, tactical reality check nobody wants to admit. The United way is a myth. Or rather, it's a ghost. It is a vague, nostalgic hallucination of Sir Alex Ferguson standing on the touchline, chewing gum aggressively while Ryan Giggs tears down the wing in 1989, and trying to recreate that specific vibe in the tactical landscape of 2024 or 2025. It's not just difficult, it is actively strangling the club. It's like trying to win a Formula One race today by insisting you drive a 1990s Ferrari because it had soul. Yeah, it had soul. But that Red Bull car just lapped you 3 times while you were talking about passion. Today, we're going to dissect exactly what people think this philosophy is, why it keeps getting managers fired, and why the biggest club in England is trapped in a prison of its own making. 1. The nostalgia trap versus modern geometry. Let's be brutally honest about what your uncle thinks the United way is. If you ask a fan who grew up in the 90s, the United way is simple. Attack, attack, attack. It's 2 wingers hugging the touchline like it's a long-lost lover. It's a 4-4-2 formation. It's comebacks. It's throwing the kitchen sink at the opposition in Fergie time. It is pure, unadulterated chaos harnessed into winning. And that worked beautifully when the Premier League was a physical battleground where tactics were often secondary to individual brilliance and sheer will. But look at the modern game. Look at what Pep Guardiola did to football. Look at what Jurgen Klopp did. Look at what Mikel Arteta or even Unai Emery are doing. Modern elite football isn't about passion or attacking vibes. It is geometry. It is strict positional rigidness. It's about controlling space so precisely that the opponent suffocates. When you demand a manager play the United way, fast, direct, risk-taking football, but you put them up against a Manchester City or an Arsenal that is designed to control every square inch of grass, you're asking for a suicide mission. Think about Erik ten Hag's tenure. The man came from Ajax. He knows positional play. He knows structure. But the second he stepped into Old Trafford, the ghost whispered, "No, we don't do boring control here. We do fast breaks. We do excitement." So what did you get? You got a team that tried to press high, but left a gap in the midfield big enough to park a cruise ship in. You got chaos ball, and sure, chaos is fun when you win 4-3 against Wolves. It is significantly less fun when you are getting sliced apart by Crystal Palace because your midfield consists of 1 exhausted Brazilian and a lot of open grass. The United way demands entertainment first and control second. In the modern Premier League, if you don't have control, you don't have anything. You just have expensive players running around looking confused. 2. The class of 92 hangover, or why kids can't save you. If the first pillar of the United way is attacking chaos, the second pillar is youth. This is the holiest of holies. If they're good enough, they're old enough. The Busby Babes, the class of 92. It is a beautiful romantic idea. It's the identity of the club. You have had an academy graduate in every single matchday squad since October 1937. That is an insane stat. It is genuinely impressive. It is also a massive tactical headache. Here is the problem. The United way creates an expectation that every kid who steps out of Carrington is the next Paul Scholes. The fanbase doesn't just want youth, they demand it as a spiritual cleanser. When the $80 million winger flops, we'll get to him in a minute, the fans scream, "Play the kids, they have the passion, they understand the badge." So, you throw a teenager into the Premier League meat grinder, and because the team has no structure, see section 1, the kid has to run around like a headless chicken to cover the cracks. If they run fast and slide tackle someone, they are anointed as the Messiah. If they make a tactical error because, they are 18 years old, the pressure mounts instantly. This obsession forces managers to prioritise passion over profile. It creates a squad-building issue where you hold on to academy players for 5 years too long because they are one of our own, even if they aren't actually good enough for a title-winning side. You end up with a bench full of players who are fine but not elite, simply because the culture demands you protect the bloodline. You're trying to run a ruthless billion-pound corporation like it's a family business. Manchester City doesn't care if their left-back is from their academy, or from a laboratory in Croatia. They just care if he can invert into midfield without falling over. 3. The Hollywood tax, buying chandeliers for a tent. Now let's talk about the most expensive part of this United Way burden, the transfers. Somewhere along the line, the United Way stopped meaning homegrown talent mixed with sensible signings, and started meaning we are the biggest club in the world, so we must sign the most famous player available regardless of whether he fits. This is the Ed Woodward era legacy, but it's deeper than that. It's a psychological need to prove relevance through spending. Let's look at the strategy. A smart club, let's say Liverpool under Klopp, identifies a gap. They say, we need a high-energy box-to-box midfielder with high ball recovery numbers. They find a guy in the Bundesliga nobody has hyped up yet. They pay 35 Mustern, he becomes a legend. Manchester United? The United Way says, we need a star. So you go out and buy the biggest name on the market. Paul Pogba, a luxury playmaker who needed a specific structure behind him. You bought him and played him in a double pivot with players who couldn't pass. Alexis Sanchez. He played the piano in the announcement video. He did not play much football. Cristiano Ronaldo, the return, the ultimate nostalgia hit. The crowd went wild. The merchandise flew off the shelves, and the team's pressing structure collapsed into dust because you cannot press with a 37-year-old legend who refuses to run. It's the equivalent of buying a $50,000 crystal chandelier and hanging it in a camping tent. The chandelier is beautiful, it's expensive, it's world-class, but you're living in a tent. The chandelier drags the roof down, smashes on the floor, and now you're just sitting in the dark with a lot of broken glass. And let's not even get started on the Antony situation. That wasn't just bad scouting, that was a desperation tax. That was a club so terrified of not backing their manager that they paid double the valuation just to say, look, we did something. 4. The managerial meat grinder. So you combine these 3 things. 1. A demand for 1990s attacking chaos. 2. A demand to play youth players to save the club's soul. 3. A transfer policy driven by marketing metrics and panic. Who suffers? The manager. The United Way makes the manager's job impossible because the job description is contradictory. You hire a tactician like Louis van Gaal or Erik ten Hag, guys known for systems. Then the fans and pundits scream at them for being boring because they aren't winning 5-4 every week. This isn't the United Way, they shout as Van Gaal tries to teach the team how to keep possession. Attack, 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 they chant while the manager is desperately trying to stop the team from conceding 20 shots a game against Brentford. The burden of the past implies that winning isn't enough. You have to win with style. You have to win with swashbuckling arrogance. Do you know who wins with swashbuckling arrogance in the 2020s? Nobody. Real Madrid wins with moments of individual magic, sure, but City, Arsenal, Inter Milan, they win with suffocating, boring, repetitive excellence. They win by removing the chaos. The United Way is an addiction to chaos, and until the club goes to rehab, admits that 1999 is never coming back, and decides to build a modern, boring, sensible football operation, the cycle will just keep spinning. 5. The punditocracy, the Greek chorus of doom. We cannot talk about the burden of the United Way without talking about the loudest, most terrifying aspect of Manchester United's existence: the ex-players. No other club in the world deals with this. If Liverpool loses a game, Jamie Carragher might moan a bit, but he moves on. If Chelsea loses, their ex-players are usually too busy managing other clubs or enjoying retirement to start a revolution. But United? Oh boy! Every time Manchester United loses a game, the TV studios light up like a Christmas tree of disapproval. Gary Neville, Roy Keane, Paul Scholes, Rio Ferdinand, Patrice Evra. It's not just analysis, it's a tribunal. They are the keepers of the flame, the guardians of the standards. And while they love the club, they are inadvertently poisoning the well. Why? Because they view everything through the lens of the Sir Alex Ferguson era. Gary, the team is playing a complex 3-2-5 build-up structure. Gary's response, "Yeah, but they don't look like they want it. Where's the aggression? Where's the fight?" They control the narrative. If a manager tries to change the culture, perhaps by dropping a popular player or playing a slower, more patient style, the punditocracy revolts. They shape the fan base's opinion within minutes. "This isn't United," they say. And suddenly, the manager isn't just fighting the opposition tactics, he's fighting the ghosts of 1999 who have primetime slots on Sky Sports. Imagine trying to do your job, but every time you make a mistake, your predecessor's most successful employees go on national television to tell millions of people that you are disgraceful and soft. It creates a culture of fear. Players hide, managers panic. The United way becomes a weapon used to beat the current team for not being the 2008 Champions League winners. 6. The leaky roof and the commercial beast. And finally, we have to talk about where this United way philosophy physically lives. Old Trafford. For decades, the United way on the business side was, we don't need to innovate because we are Manchester United. While Real Madrid was renovating the Bernabeu into a spaceship that prints money, and Tottenham built the best stadium in the world, and City built a training complex that looks like a NASA facility, United sat still. Why fix the roof? We're Man United. Why upgrade the Wi-Fi? We're Man United. Why modernise the medical department? We are Man United. This arrogance is the dark side of the history. The club became so obsessed with its own brand power, selling tractors in Asia and pillowcases in America, that they forgot they were a football club. There is a perfect metaphor for this. In the 2023-24 season, during a match against Arsenal, a thunderstorm hit, and Old Trafford, the majestic theatre of dreams, started leaking. Not just a drip, a waterfall. Rain was pouring onto the seats. It was pouring into the dressing rooms. You literally had the United way crumbling physically around the players. While the commercial team was high-fiving about a new noodle partner, the literal infrastructure of the club was rotting. This is the ultimate burden. You cannot play high-intensity, modern elite football when your facilities are stuck in 2005 and your owners treat the club like an ATM rather than a sports team. The United way became a shield for the Glazers. "Look at the history, look at the badge," they shouted, while neglecting the very real bricks and mortar required to keep a club at the top level. You can't passion your way out of a leaking roof. You can't history your way into having better medical scanners than Manchester City. So when we say, the United way is a burden, we mean it quite literally weighs the club down. It allowed standards to slip because everyone assumed the name Manchester United was enough to guarantee success. Spoiler alert, the grass doesn't care what your name is. The ball doesn't know how many trophies you won in 1999. If you don't water the pitch and fix the roof, you're just a wet team with a nice museum. 7. The irony of the United way. It never existed. Here is the ultimate punchline, the funniest part of this entire tragedy. The thing that makes you want to laugh and cry at the same time. Sir Alex Ferguson didn't actually have a United way. We have mythologized him into this high priest of attacking wing play football, but go back and watch the tapes. Watch the 2008 Champions League semi-final against Barcelona. Did United attack? No. They sat in a deep block. They defended for their lives. They played pure, pragmatic, ugly survival football, and then Scholes scored a screamer, and they went through. Ferguson wasn't dogmatic. He was a chameleon. When 4-4-2 worked, he played 4-4-2. When Mourinho came along with a defensive 4-3-3, Ferguson adapted. When Europe got tactical, he hired Carlos Queiroz to teach the team how to pass properly. The United way wasn't a tactical system. It was ruthless pragmatism. It was doing whatever was necessary to win. The current version of the United way, this rigid demand for entertaining youth-led wing-play chaos, is a caricature. It's a cartoon version of history. By trying to copy the aesthetics of the Ferguson era, the wingers, the passion, the comebacks, the club missed the substance of the Ferguson era, adapting to the modern game, relentless standards, and moving players on before they declined. The club has been chasing a ghost that doesn't look like the man who cast the shadow. They are trying to paint a masterpiece by throwing paint at the wall because they heard Picasso was wild, ignoring that Picasso actually knew exactly where every brushstroke was going. Final thought: how to break the curse. So, how do you fix it? How do you lift the burden? You have to kill the United way. You have to stop talking about it. You have to ban the phrase from the training ground. You have to take down the posters of the 1999 treble in the dressing room if they are making the current players feel small. We are seeing the first signs of this potentially happening. The arrival of INEOS, Dan Ashworth, Omar Birada, these are suits. They are boring structural guys. They aren't talking about magic. They are talking about spreadsheets, medical departments and recruitment structures. And that is exactly what Manchester United needs. They need to be boring. To become a superpower again, United must accept a period of being unspecial. They need to sign players who fit a system, not a marketing campaign. They need to let a manager play controlled robotic football for 2 years until the team actually learns how to pass the ball to each other. They need to ignore Gary Neville when he has a meltdown after a 0-0 draw. If Manchester United wants to honour their history, they shouldn't try to replicate it. They should learn from the one thing Sir Alex Ferguson actually cared about: winning. If that means winning 1-0 with a boring defensive block, that's the United way. If that means selling a popular academy kid because he doesn't fit the pressing stats, that's the United way. If that means tearing down the leaking roof of Old Trafford to build a soulless but functional modern stadium, that's the United way. The past is a nice place to visit, but you can't live there. It's time for the biggest club in England to move out of the museum and get back on the pitch. Because right now, the Theatre of Dreams is just a very expensive place to have nightmares. So basically, stop trying to be the 90s cool kid and just fix the plumbing. Subscribe if you want to see if they actually do it.